All right, so we used this while loop to create a list of student names, right? But let's use a different loop structure, and it's a post-test loop structure called do loop. Now, what a do loop does, it increments through a loop, or at least through the statement body, at least once, and then tests the Boolean expression last. And how that's set up is you simply, I will go ahead and erase this, and we'll say do, and then here while, and then the Boolean expression ends with a semicolon that closes out the expression. Um, so do this statement, and we'll go ahead and copy this information over and erase this. Do this statement while this is true. While whatever Boolean expression is true, right? So to we're going to make a better loop, all right? And we're going to have some user input and output, all right? So and we'll also create we'll go ahead and initialize another string variable. And what it will do is print out all the uh, all of the names all in one list. So we're going to initialize a string object, and we're going to go ahead and just initialize it empty, so that it has something in it. And we're going to call it student buffer. It's it's a concept that you're going to learn about in the future, but it's basically going to store all the student names and print it out towards the end, right? So either way, so we have what we have here, right? So the system out, um, in enter the student name. The student name is entered. Next line, and then we want to print out the student, the student count and the student name. So what we want to do is have a little bit of user user feedback. So let's create a different um, uh, string variable or object called repeat. And what repeat's going to do is we're going to say repeat is equal to keyboard dot next line. And before that, we're going to ask the system out, and then print line. Do you have more students to input? And then the answer should be either yes or no. And we'll go ahead and add a colon there. And then what repeat's going to do is it is going to hold the string of input here, right? And then we're going to say repeat, while repeat equals dot equals to either yes, or we'll put a little flexibility there. Repeat equals um, lowercase y, then it will continue inputting student names, right? And then what we also want to do here is we'll set um, student uh, student buffer dot, and then concats is what we're going to use. And what that does is combines the 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 string variable, right? So all that does is combine the string variable into one longer string. So we'll say student count, and then we'll also say plus. Um, we'll make a new space, and then we'll also say student count, then student name. We'll insert student name here, and then we'll also add a new line so that it prints out a different line, right? And so all that needs to be re-inputted into student buffer. And what that does is it's almost like you're adding on to the end of a new string. It is you're adding on to the end of a new string, and that student buffer is storing all the information that we have in student in all the student names, right? And so at the end of this, we want to go ahead and print out student out that print line, and then student buffer. And it'll print out the student buffer, right? So let's take a look at uh, what we did here, right? So we initialized a new student buffer, and all this does is stores a running list of student names in order, and then a string the repeat simply asks the question, asks the user, do you have more students to input, or at least stores the answer. So say stores the answer of whether or not the user has more students to input, right? And uh, now that we've done that, it increments the counter to 1, all right? So we have one student at least enters the student. You enter the student name. It reads the input, adds the input into student buffer, and then prints it out to the screen and asks you, do you have more students to input? Either yes or no. You put either uppercase or lowercase y. Any other input, N, A, Z, or X, exits out of the loop, and then the computer prints out, or the program prints out the information left in the student buffer. So let's go ahead and run this program. So we're going to go here and enter student name. We're going to enter Mark. Yes, we do. Enter Mary. We're going to put a lowercase y. Let's say put Omar. Yes, we do. And we'll have John. And then yes, and we'll put in Jim. No, I don't have anything else. And then at the end it prints out Mark, Mary, Omar, John, and Jim in order. So that worked out pretty well. And I hope you guys noted this new method that I showed you guys for string, or not here, but here is adds to the running tally in the student buffer, right? And we'll talk about what buffers are in a little bit in 2 more lessons. And there's a better way we could do this. We could store this buffer into an actual text file, and we'll talk about how to do that towards the end of the module. But for now, we'll go on to for loops. Now, the while loop and the for loop are great if you don't know how many iterations you need to do in a particular loop. The for loop is an ideal loop if you know how many iterations you actually need to execute. And it's also very powerful in the sense that you can actually initialize the loop control variable or the loop guard inside of the loop header. And so it's powerful. It's also useful. Each one of these loops are very useful in their own way. So we're going to take a for loop and make a different iteration of this same concept.